taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything. I pop off with the new rock, electronic, blow the sonic roof up. I'm too honest when I take a few shots. They're too toxic, need to take the noose off. And you cannot save me, cause I don't need saving. It's everything I've been chasing. I'm back, you know that I never left. I got tracks and some music that you never guess. I don't slack, don't lose, learn your lesson yet. When I get to choose what I do, I'm like a weapon. I'm not sharp as many, but got heart, I'm ready to change. Scars to envy, to win large and plenty. I like to play fast, never change back. Calling out, I'll pay back, cause I'm great at that, oh.
Hello, the music's really loud. What's going on? There's so many technical issues happening already. Now, is the music going to stop?
The joys of live viewing.
Whoa, we're... What's going on? Oh, hang on. Ah, sorry. Hello, can everyone hear me now? There was a really weird... Oh, I forgot. Do you know what I've done? There's a really weird thing. Because we're during the countdown, the music was playing back. And I could hear it twice. And I guess none of you could hear it twice. So you must have thought, what am I on about in the chat? Of course, I've got the live stream open in a YouTube window hidden somewhere. So I'm hearing everything twice. So I do my little thing at the beginning and I'm hearing myself back. Anyway, let's start again. Hello and welcome to FPL Agony, here to make fantasy football less like hell. And this week it's time to get wild. And so let's introduce you to our expert straight from the rainforests of East London. Let's hear it first of all from Scott. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Could be better, could be worse. Excited for the game week. Glad to be back, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And what a time. I mean, we've got a lot to talk about, a lot to get through, because we're making some big changes. I know all three of us are. Signore, how are you feeling about Game Week 9?
I'm glad it's here. I haven't really stressed too much about my team this week, and I'll get to that a little bit later. but I'm more feeling the love that you think I'm an expert on this, Matt. So thank you very much.
Absolutely, absolutely. Scott and Signore are our experts, and if you're watching live, do get involved in the live chat going out along this episode. And we'll if you've got any good questions, we'll put them to the experts. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about, and we're going to be talking about Game Week 9 and some of our big decisions. But what I thought we'd do is just have a little look at what happened in Game Week 8 a very long time ago. It felt like an ice age ago. I hope you had a nice international break. Did you have a nice international break, Scott? You went away, didn't you?
Yeah, I went away. I don't know where I went, but it was lovely. Yeah, I had my sunglasses and everything. Hope some of you saw it in the TikTok.
There's been a
I
lot.
thought you were Bazipin, Scott.
That's what that backdrop was. That was a screenshot from Basildon. That's absolutely what it was. Yeah. What am I going to say? I don't even know. Yeah. I think the TikTok, there's been a lot of love for that. I mean, over 1,000 views, hundreds of likes. It's been brilliant. So keep the love going on TikTok. And of course, all of our socials. Do follow us on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. And yes, let's talk about Game Week 8 very briefly, because we're going to talk about what was going on there. And we've got the FPL Agony League. Jesus Walks, well done. You're top of the league, 495. A special shout out to Liam Ertone, who's consistently in the top sort of 3 or 5 over the week. So doing absolutely brilliantly. And then if we scroll down a bit, if we scroll down to 23rd place, we get to Scott. And Scott, you got 63 points in Game Week 8. You pretty happy with that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that feels like ages ago. Like, my hair's been growing in that time. But I think, if I remember correctly, I had 2 free transfers. And I sold Salah and I sold Luis Diaz and brought in Kulusevski and De Bruyne. I mean, it got me 15 points more than what I would have had. So, obviously, I'm well chuffed with that. I didn't take a minus. I could have gone Son when he got his, 20-minute cameo, was it? And got a hat-trick. Would never happen any other game week. But how can I complain with a extra 15 points in the bank and no minus, when there was so many blanks? So... yeah, happy.
Yeah, and what a crazy, time for Son. Everyone's written him off. Everyone's taken him out of his team. Doesn't even start, and then that happens. I mean, I wonder. Maybe we'll have a look later when we're talking through our teams. How many people are transferring him in for Game Week 9? But yeah, I think 63. That's a decent showing. And then if we scroll down a bit further, we do get to Signore.
Not too much further.
Where are you? No, you have to scroll down a fair bit, don't you? Well, no, you're not that far. Hang on, no, you are that far. Hang on, we're getting there. There we go, 77th place. That was quite far, Signore. You're still a long way behind Scott. Scott's leading it for the 3 of us, but I think between the 3 of us, we're doing not great compared to some of the others in our league. But 52 points. Yeah, pretty good. What do you think, Signore?
Yeah, like Scott said, it seems such a long time ago. I've had 2 shaves and a haircut since then. I remember taking the -4. Sorry, Scott, I didn't want to get all hair envy on you, but yeah, I I remember taking a -4 here, and I thought it was a good move at the time. It didn't quite pay off for me, but you know what? Can't complain. 52 points, pretty happy really. The move to bring in Kevin De Bruyne really worked.
Yeah, I always say about not having 3 from the same team, that really paid off for you. You've cancelled De Bruyne and Haaland. You captained Haaland. The captaincy for Haaland didn't bring in that much. I don't think it did for anybody. But pretty happy with De Bruyne though. Is that someone you're thinking of keeping going forward?
If I could, I've tried to find ways to keep him and get someone else in my team. It's just near impossible without completely decimating my current squad.
Yeah, and I think there is some. I think a lot of people are thinking about doing a little bit of a rebuild after this international break. We won't talk about me because I'm 85th and I got 54 points. So I think we'll leave that one there. Let's go straight in to Game Week 9, and they are the fixtures that we have. So let's just do a run through the Game Week 9 fixtures. We have Arsenal versus Spurs, Bournemouth versus Brentford, Crystal Palace versus Chelsea, Fulham versus Newcastle, Liverpool versus Brighton, Southampton versus Everton, West Ham versus Wolves, Man City versus Man United. Everyone's got their eye on that one. Leeds versus Aston Villa, and Leicester versus Forest. So, Scott, any tasty fixtures you're looking out for this weekend?
I mean, we could be quite obvious and say, obviously, the City United game. I think that's going to be really, really tasty because United have started to pick up form now. We know how well City are doing this season, as per. But I also like the Palace and Chelsea game. I think for a London derby, that's going to be really, really nice, and I think it'll be a good watch. I think obviously I'll tell you my plans later, but I've got a couple of players in that game, so I'm hoping to see which way it swings because it depends on obviously positions I've got in my new squad. So yeah, I think that's a really nice game, and obviously the North London derby. How can I miss that one?
Yeah, absolutely. And Signore, anything you're looking out for this weekend?
There's a few derbies that might not seem like they're derbies, but there's a James Milner derby, which I'm paying a little bit closer attention to see out the week on the Sunday. So yeah, Leeds versus Aston Villa for our younger viewers. I want to say William Gallistar because he seemed to play for everyone. But there might be a William Gallas derby in there somewhere, and there's also a Carlos Tevez derby that is probably the most eye-catching one of the weekend.
Wow. I love the way you rename derbies. I mean, honestly, you do a better job than Sky, Signore. You know how they do the Super Sunday nonsense, and the Super Sunday games are always rubbish. You come up with the most genius names. Honestly, Sky should hire you. Especially, I mean, I'll never forget the Andy Carroll derby. That was the most stroke of genius. But every week, consistently, you make some of the blandest games sound incredibly appealing. Go on, Scott, what was you going to say?
I was just going to ask. I was thinking, Carlos Tevez never played for Wolves.
I was. Yeah, to be fair, I was I was a bit confused about that, mate. Hasn't, what's his name gone to Wolves, though? You know, former Chelsea striker.
Costa.
Yeah, Costa. What?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and he's not fit enough to play.
It could be a good move.
Has he still got it? Can he still cut it on, a Saturday night or Sunday in East London? Can he still do it?
Vintage forwards seem to be a thing. Look at Ibrahimovic and look at Benzema. They're still doing it at their ages. So maybe, just maybe Costa will do it.
How much is he? Do we know how much he is? Is he actually on FPL?
5.5.
5.5.
Yeah.
That's not a bad bench option, If you don't want to play 3 up front, I don't know. It's probably better, but I don't know. Yeah, tasty. Anyway, very good stuff. So let's do the game week 9 fixtures, and I think we need to tell everyone, don't we, Scott? I think we're all doing the same plans, aren't we? This weekend we're going to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
We've pressed the button, haven't we?
We've made it active. We're not going to the gym. We're not active in that way. We have hit that button. If anyone doesn't understand that, we've hit the wild card, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
Are we going to look into it?
Yes.
Yeah, so, Signore, you've hit the wild card. Scott's hit the wild card. At about 7:30 this morning, I hit the wild card. So, I've left it to the last minute, honestly. I've just forgotten about everything. And I have a very temporary team with some placeholders. But there's some really interesting talking points, I think, about what's everyone going to do. And if you are playing your wild cards this week, do let us know in the chat. We really want to know what your plans are. Because I think it's a good time. I mean, I think it's a good time. Scott, why is it a good time to play your wild card?
Well, I went for it many times in the last live stream. After the international break, there's starting to become a bit of a fixture swing, and I think you can really jump on those players that have got some seriously good fixtures. I'm talking about the midfield mostly. I think there's some seriously dangerous fixtures, and if you go without owning these players, I think it could be curtains for most people's seasons. I'm not going to lie. I think a lot of the Game Week 8 wildcarders would have brought these in already, but I think as a Game Week 9 wildcarder, you had that chance to assess it. And you, obviously, during the international break, you can make those tinkers. And my team has been tinkered twice this past 36 hours only because of news that has come out. And I was able to have 2 players take out, obviously, for nothing on the wild card. So I was quite fortunate with that.
Yeah. I think we should reveal your teams. I think that's what I want to get to.
Let's do it.
And I've got a question for both of you, because you've both done one. Well, you've got a couple of similar players, but you've both made one transfer, which I think is intriguing. Let's talk about Maddison, 7.9 million. You've both put him in your wildcard team. Now, Leicester are not in a good place. The upcoming fixtures are all right, admittedly, all green when we looked. But can I just ask both of you, why have you gone for Maddison in your wildcard team? Signore, why have you done it?
He's been a bit of a surprise package for me this year. He's a good player and I rate him, and he's done well in previous seasons. But even though Leicester have been underperforming, he's been performing consistently still, and he scored on quite a few returns. Now, my big fear was if Rodgers got the sack, because if that was the case, new manager comes in and they might change their style of play. He might be played into a different position, different things might be asked of him, but Rodgers is still there. So do you know what? I'm going to bring Maddison for a cheeky 7.9.
And Scott, similar thoughts?
Similar, but to add to that, I think like Leicester have been poor defensively. They've been awful. Like they're bottom of the league, but Maddison is involved in every single attacking return, or majority of their attacking returns this season. Like the game against Tottenham, don't get me wrong, they completely fell apart once obviously Son come on. But Maddison was still involved in the goals in the first half. And I just think, all right, it's only 0.1 difference, but we're talking, we spoke a lot at the start of the season when we set up the channel. We're speaking about the £8 million midfielder. And no one really realised, I think James Maddison was that £8 million midfielder. He's a regular return. He returns regularly, and I just think he's the one now who will be in the team for a good few weeks. I mean, there's his fixtures. I think it's 4 game weeks, including this, like the next game week, that you have to have him there. I think you can reassess it after those 4 game weeks, but your Forests, your Bournemouth, Palace, I think you've got to have him in there. If you're on wildcard, I think it's a no-brainer. I can't see many wildcards not having him, to be honest, and I just don't want to miss out. Like, if you're going to hit the algorithms, you're going to have Maddison in your team. Simple as, really.
Wow, some pretty powerful backups for a team that are not doing very well. I don't have him in, but I will consider it based on what you said. Looking at some of his stats, 29 points so far for the season. 7 points, though, in Game Week 8. Interestingly, a lot of the community back you up. We've got 281,838 people transferring him in. So it seems like he is the hot pick of this game week. Let's have a look at, let's do a bit of a breakdown of your complete wild card squads. So let's start with Scott. Let's go through your team. So in goal you have Pope and Ward. In defence, Cancelo, Trippier, James, Emerson and Williams from Forest. Midfield, Martinelli, Zaha, Maddison, De Bruyne and Andreas. And Haaland, Tony and Mitrovic up front. So, what are your thoughts with those transfers, Scott? What are you thinking?
I'm going to touch on a subject that I've seen a lot on Twitter in the community, and that's, which I've gone for, which could be dangerous, is the double Newcastle defence. I think Pope is the highest scoring goalkeeper on the game. He's had a great start to the season, but their fixtures are starting to swing a little bit, and not so much for the better. And I think it could be quite dangerous having a double up of Newcastle's defence. But I just think having Trippier, personally, he's been such a godsend for me since the start of the season. I didn't go with James at the start of the season, and I went with Trippier, and he returned every single week. And I just think for his price point, I've not earned much of a profit on him, to be honest, because I've obviously had him since the start. But he's a bit of an assist king. He's on set pieces, he's on free kicks, he can score goals. They're going to get a clean sheet. You've got clean sheet points there. And he seems to be a bit of a bonus point merchant as well. So he had to be kept in. And the Pope situation is just, I think he's the best goalkeeper to have in the game. I think he's going to be really highly owned. And you just don't want to miss out on that, And for 5.2, I think it's a good option. The Emerson transfer could be quite surprising for a few, but I think it's because he's so cheap. And originally that was Patterson at Everton. And obviously we heard the news of his injury. And I just think if we do switch to a back 5, because as a football point of view, I think West Ham need to do that now to start picking up our results. I think he'll play left back. I really, really do. I think, or left wing back if you wish, because I think Cresswell will go to left centre back. and he would play in that position and have a starting left back at 4 mil, similar to Nico Williams. And our fixtures are starting to turn as well. So that was my decision on that. Due to funds, I didn't go for Trent, but I think that'll be like a lot of players now. Zaha, I think, is a really good option at 7.2. I think their fixtures are very, very tasty. All right, they've got Chelsea this week, but I would still, with Chelsea's form, obviously pre-international break, you got to have him in. And the Mitrovic one was originally Isaac or Isaac. I really wanted him to be kept in my team, but due to the injuries, as I said earlier, I made a transfer to Mitrovic and banked a couple more extra. What was it, 0.2 or something like that? So I'm happy with that so far. I think there's still some changes to be made between now and the deadline. I'm even potentially looking at downgrading Ward to Everson for 3.9 because there's been some ramblings about him potentially starting now with all obviously their issues at the back and how many goals they've conceded. I think they've conceded 20 goals this season already, which is it's a lot for 8 games in.
It's proper relegation form.
Yeah, it's the basement boys, isn't it? And it's gonna be a tricky one for them. So Rodgers has hinted at potentially reassessing the goalkeeping options. So maybe I'll look at that. And Mitrovic, I just think he's got some good fixtures. I like it. Tony as well has been doing so well for Brentford this season, and obviously I know Signore had him when he scored the hat trick, and that was insane. I just don't want to miss out. A couple of players of mine up is Mark Gee at Palace and trying to get in on that Palace defence. So I'll look at that. I mean the big one, even though we say are we going with no Salah, there's still a chance I bring him in. That would be for De Bruyne. The funds don't work out exactly right now, but I think if he does drop, I will still consider it before the deadline. But 95% there, I think. I think it's 95%. I'm fairly settled on that.
I mean, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think the Martinelli one, I'm a little bit sceptical on. I think I've earned a decent profit on him, but they're blanking game week 12 is hard for me to see him staying in. Their fixtures are good after game week 12, but I've already got Triple City who are not playing in game week 12. I've got Martinelli who's not playing in game week 12. As I said, I've got Emerson, but we also play Liverpool in game week 12. So I'm effectively got a 9-man squad, I think, or a 10-man squad so far for game week 12. So I've got to think of it long term as well, because we're not going to get any more unlimited transfers or wildcards until obviously game week 16. So still work to be done, but fairly sorted, I think.
I think there are questions over Martinelli and whether to include him on the team. I mean, there are others in the Arsenal team, the actual Arsenal team, that have outshone him in some recent games. Saka and Ødegaard have both actually had some pretty good games, and Martinelli hasn't always picked up the points despite his really good start to the season. I think it's up in the air for a lot of people. It's certainly up in the air for me, but it is interesting. One thing that's interesting, I mean, it's a lovely refresh of your squad, and it looks healthy and revitalised, and it looked like it would do quite well. But we can talk about who you've included, but let's talk about who you haven't included. And Shush has made this observation. You haven't gone with, or you've gone for no Salah and no Jesus. So do you think you're going to end up missing out by not including those players?
I don't know. I really don't know. There was a lot of debate around Jesus for me, or Jesus. I just think he's a bit of a yellow card merchant. He's one away from a suspension, plus he blanks in game week 12. Is it game week 12 or game week 11 the blank? Either one. I think it's game week 12. I don't want to have that problem. So if I do go Jesus, Martinelli's going. It's as simple as that, but I'm still going to have the same issue as I've got right now with Martinelli. So do I just have the same headache in a different position? I just don't know. I'm a bit worried about his yellow cards as well. For one more and it's a suspension. I just don't want to take that risk. I'm much more lower than I thought I was going to be at this stage of the season, so I might have to take that risk without him. We'll see. We'll see.
Signore, let's talk about your team. There are many similarities, I think, in terms of all three of our teams. We'll look at mine in a little bit, but you've also gone with Pope and Ward in goal. But this time we have a few differences. So in defence we have me, Cancelo, Mings, Williams, and how do you say that? Guehi.
Gee.
Geehy. Geehy. Okay. It's like Signore trying to say Kulusevski. Just call him Bob. Right. In defence, you got De Bruyne, Zaha, Maddison, Andreas, and McAllister. I want to talk about that in a moment. And up front, you've gone with Haaland, Jesus, and Tony. So you've both gone for Tony. Signore, talk about your squad selection with this wild card. What are your thoughts here?
I'm not locked, so I've got a couple of things in the pipeline still, but I was kind of predicting and hoping more than anything that there was going to be a couple of price changes to kind of boost my funds later on. So McAllister, I heard rumours he was going to go up. I had him, and then we had a couple of postponements, so I took him out, brought him back in because I heard he was going to go up. That's not been the case, so that's not quite happened yet, but it's fine because I got the wild card. Same with like De Bruyne, even though he done amazing for me last game week, the plan was never to keep him. I do plan to go back to Salah. De Bruyne's gone up in price. I'm hoping Salah goes down before this next game week, and then I've earned 0.2. So that is the thinking behind that. And then do I bring in, to cover Man City, do I bring in like a Bernardo? Because Bernardo's been doing all right. You know, since those rumours of him not going to Barcelona have gone very quiet, he seems to be one of Pep's main players. So I feel quite confident about that move potentially. As you can see in defence, I've gone cheap as chips. I've got rid of my premium defenders and I've just kept Cancelo. I think he is the defender to have in the game this season. I have been tempted by bringing in James potentially, but I don't know. It's a bit like Liverpool in a minute with Chelsea. I feel like Trent and James will get returns, but they're not going to get the clean sheet returns that you desperately want for your defenders. Pope, I did debate, even though I brought him in because I think he's the best goalkeeper to have in the next few games. But to get more money, I don't know whether to downgrade him to like a Raya. And I don't know. But there's still a couple of things in the works for my team. And like Scott, I've been quite conscious about game week 12, which I have no problem taking out Jesus for someone else on a one-off game week.
And I think it's quite comforting to see some consistency between your two teams. But I kind of want to talk about McAllister. I want to talk about Brighton. You know, Brighton had a really good start to the season, and lots of people are transferring Brighton players in. And you've done it this wildcard week, and that's the one that I think everything else I could kind of see, but it's the McAllister one that surprised me. Where are Brighton at now? What there is such an uncertain future. Is it actually worth the risk of putting Brighton players in your wildcard team, given that they're facing a change of manager, a sudden change in manager? And they play some really good football. It doesn't necessarily mean that great football is going to stop, but it is an unhelpful disruption to the season. Scott, where I notice you haven't put any Brighton players in your team. So what's your opinion about including any Brighton players in your squad?
It's a risk. It's a real big risk. I like the addition. I think it's really, really tasty because he's on pens, and if anyone you're going to bring in from Brighton, it's him. But when you get a new manager in, there's a massive transition. I've heard that this new guy, I don't know much about him, but he's very much there to continue the good work of Potter. Very similar coaching style. So, you know, the defensive side of it, the counter-attacking style, some really good football there. But I think the job that Potter did there was insane. Was absolutely insane. Like, you don't get a massive move, if you wish, to a club like Chelsea if you don't work on, you know, your coaching, your tactics and stuff like that. And it's one of those passing the eye tests for me when it comes to Brighton players. if they hit the ground running under the new guy and under the new boss, then yeah, I think they would be targeted. But not. I think at this stage, you're hitting a wild card. You got to go for players you just expect to get points. That's just my personal opinion.
But Signore, I think you see this situation a little bit more positively. We've got McAllister, who is doing well. So what's your thoughts on including him in your wild card? He's obviously appealed to you somehow.
He's impressed me just because he seems to be integral into how Brighton played under Potter. He was involved in everything, and he's not a bit part player no more. He starts for Argentina. I didn't know he was even Argentine, but he's there with Messi and whatnot, playing, scoring, assisting, and he has hit some bangers. He's on free kicks, he's on penalties. That's appealed. So I hope that can continue. I mean, like I said, this isn't locked in as such. We'll just have to play this and see how it transpires. But yeah, he's impressed me. And boys, he's in our draft team. He scored us massive points,
Fair play, that draft team. Where are we in the draft league, Signore? I haven't put a screenshot on this episode, but where are we?
We have shot up. Considering we started second from bottom, 15 out of 16, we scored the most last game week, and we are currently 5th.
Wow. That's a big turnaround in our fortunes, so well done, Signore.
Done all right,
That's fantastic. So, for those thinking about playing a wild card, and I think we're saying yes to doing a wild card this week, who are the players that you haven't included, the sort of fringe players you are considering bringing in? Signore, who are the people to watch out for, apart from the people you've put in your wild card team?
I mean, I've mentioned some already. Like I've mentioned James, and I've not actually mentioned him. You did, I think, Saka. Annoyingly, he was one of those players on the FPL curse for me. He was in my team to begin with at the start of the season. The week I took him out, he returned every week. This guy, what are you doing to my stress levels? Mitrovic is someone that I haven't got. If I could have 4 strikers, I'm having 4 strikers. I just like my front 3. Haaland is the best player to have in the game this season so far. Jesus, I'm still keeping the faith. And, that's not a pun intended, by the way. And in Tony, I trust. So he is definitely staying. Wow. I'm just trying to think. There was another option in midfield who I thought, if he's past fit, I quite like the look of St. Max.
Yeah, it's a good shout. We've mentioned St. Max before, really, haven't we? And it's someone who is always on the fringes of our thoughts in team selection. Scott, any final words on, what players people should include on their wild card teams?
You mentioned just before about fringe players. I'm not going to mention a fringe player, but I'm going to mention someone who I've seen in a lot of drafts for their wild cards, in addition to Haaland, and that's Harry Kane. And if you're not going Salah and potentially not going to Bruyne either, and you're not going for a freemium, I've seen a lot of drafts with Haaland and Kane in there with a mid-price striker or one of the budget enablers. And I mean, Kane's starting to hit some form. He really, really is. I mean, the Son hat trick before.
Scott, I didn't realise he's the second highest scorer in the game at the minute.
Yeah,
didn't realise that.
Yeah, I've looked at something where I could take De Bruyne out for, I think it's Luis Diaz for an 8.2 or someone lower as well, and take out, I think it's Mitrovic, and get in Harry Kane, and it's just like, ooh, it's tasty. But you're guaranteed some decent striking options and some decent, striker points. But you leave yourself a bit short in midfield. That's the problem, I would look at him, but I wouldn't look at him as an expense of Haaland and leave Haaland. I mean, he should be the highest owned player in the game for the whole season now, let alone for wild cards. If you haven't got him, I don't know what you're doing, to be honest. Like, you are seriously
This guy has killed us for next season because he's going to be 15 million, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he could be the first £15 million play, quite potentially. Yeah, I mean, what is he shot up to 12 million already in 8 game weeks? He's gone up by 0.5. Is that the quickest? Or it's Martinelli as well? Maybe them two are the two players that have really risen up, obviously the most in the game. And he will be, if it's not 15 million, he's going to be 13.5 million pound, 100%, and that would be the most expensive player in history of the game.
Yeah, 13's been the most expensive. And I think the only players in the past, correct me if I'm wrong on this, Scott, pretty sure the only players that have been that much have been Salah. I think Aguero was one season, funny enough. Lampard and Ronaldo, maybe?
Yeah,
they
Ronaldo
might have been the only players that have been that expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. I think final words is if you don't own Haaland, I don't know what you're doing, to be real with everyone.
I wonder if we'll ever see a bench nightmare where Haaland's on someone's bench. That'd be a thought. You know there's going to be someone out there. There'll be someone out there who's done that. That'd be incredible. Bench nightmares will return when we get the game weeks up and running again. We talked about Harry Kane, and I'm going to use that as a nice segue to my draft wildcard team. Now, this is very draft. Some similarities, though, some real similarities. I've gone with Pope and Ward in goal once again. Trippier, Cancelo, James, that's temporary for me. Saliba and Williams. Williams is temporary for me. Sterling, a placeholder, I'll be honest with you at the moment. Martinelli, Zaha, Jensen, Andreas, and then up front, the trinity of points, of getting me some points. Haaland, Jesus, and Kane. I shall take a bow at this point. Please. Please take time to appreciate this mathematical challenge. And I have 0.1 minute left in the bank.
Hey, some of the viewers, let us know what you think. Should Matt stay with that front three? Or do you think he should spread his cost a little bit and focus in midfield or defence? I'd love to see what some people... I mean, we've got Shush in there, team on the bench, Kinky Dreads, Penguin. Let's see what you lads are saying.
I'll be interested to know, because I'll be honest with you, I spent about 5 minutes on this team, but there were some transfers I wanted to make. I just really wanted to sort out a better bench. I want to work towards a better bench, because it just wasn't working for me before, particularly if we've got some games dropping out in game week 12. Sterling was interesting. He's interesting to me because he's actually quite high. Inexplicably, he's quite high up in terms of midfielders. He hasn't, don't want to be disparaging, hasn't achieved much. And now we've got Graham Potter in charge. I don't want Chelsea players in my team. I say that as a Chelsea supporter. I had a conversation with Scott and Signore when Potter first signed, and this whole bit of time, it reminds me of that mad time back in the late noughties when Chelsea went through Scolari, Villas-Boas, and Avram Grant, those sorts of managers in that really weird era in Chelsea's history. I feel like
Avram Grant was a baddie in Danger Mouse, wasn't he?
It's such what a weird time that was. I don't want to dwell on the past or anything, but I'm just like, what? It has vibes of that for me. And so Chelsea players they're just placeholders, just because I wanted to have some sort of larger budget players that I could just put there so I could see what I could tinker with. I'm not sure who I'd replace Sterling with. I mean, if we just have a look at what's going on here, if we look at arranged by form, I mean, McAllister is right at the top there in terms of form. Rashford, obviously, what's the deal with him? What's the deal with Rashford? Muscle injury, 75% chance of playing. Yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts? Because I don't really want Sterling, I'm not going to lie. So what would you do? Scott, give me some advice.
Oh, so I like it. Literally 5 minutes ago, I'm talking about drafts with Kane and Haaland in, and boom, it pops up on the screen. I like it. Would I have all 3 of the strikers? I'm not too sure. And I mean, as in to drop Jesus out. But I think there's ways you can even save cash. And it looks like a balanced squad as well. It's really nice what you've done to get a whole balance across the team, like including the defence as well. Your Trippiers, your Cancellos, your James, and Saliba as well. I know they have the blank coming up, but he is scoring points galore, that guy. Clean sheets, goals. He would be one to not go without. I think it's solid. I really, really like it. I would drop some cash from Jensen, if I'm being honest, for 5 million. I think what it is, people are very reactionary, and they jump on these players because they get points in. They get big points, and they get hauls in one game. And it happened with the Silva at Brentford, and everyone went, "Oh my God, the best £4.5 million midfielder is here. It's actually the Silva." It goes up to 4.6, it goes up to 4.7, drops right back down again, and he doesn't get the points that everyone expected him to be. So I would drop Jensen from that. I would look at maybe save some cash. I would look at maybe someone like Billy Gilmore at Brighton. Sorry, I know we said about the Brighton players, but I think he's going to play every week. And if you're looking at just bench enablers, 4.4 million for someone like Gilmore is a good option, because I think he will start for them. Bailey, I think he's the FPL curse that we were talking about earlier for Signore. He's my FPL curse, Bailey. And I've not got him in, but to save some cash, I'd look at potentially bringing him back in, just so you get some cash back, I think. But apart from that, I actually really, really like it. I think you've done really, really well to hit, in some ways, 3 premiums there in your Sterlings, obviously Haaland and Kane, and still have a decent overall squad. So to be fair, well done, Matt. I really, really like it.
Thank you very much. Signore, any thoughts? What should I do? I mean, Gilmore inclusion I think is really weird, but I'm going to go with it just because it'd be a laugh.
How much does that leave you in the bank there, Matt?
It leaves me with 0.7.
Okay, it's not loads. I've just seen it in the chat from Dread. I think it's a dangerous play not to have any Liverpool players. That's why, for me, I'm going to bring back Salah. I just think he's too much not to have. I think you need to have a Liverpool player in there somewhere. You need a body. I think they score goals, didn't they? I don't think they're going to go on that slump. I have confidence that they'll get out of whatever they was in. Game week 2 to 4, whatever it was. They're turning the corner. They've got some of their better players back now. In defence. That once they had that sorted, everything else follows. So, yeah, I'm still not into bringing Trent back, because I've tried to spread my squad to make it overall a lot more appealing in case players don't play, especially with the game week 12 blank. But yeah, I would bring in a Liverpool player somehow, and one that scores.
Who? What do I do? Is this too hard?
I mean, Matt, what you could do. I mean, there's nothing wrong in dropping one of the 2 forwards. And I say the 2 forwards because I think there's only one forward you should keep there out of that 3. But you could drop to a Mitrovic or a Tony if you really wanted to. And that frees up funds for the midfield.
Oh.
But then again, you could drop Sterling. Sterling he's getting these chances. And even though I think Sterling is a good player and he's done FPL well over the years, I don't know if he's going to have this left wing back role, or next week he's going to be in the front 3, next week he's going to be centre forward. He's never going to settle.
Yeah, I don't want Chelsea players in my team. I never do. I support Chelsea.
There you go,
Chelsea, but I don't want
Sterling
James or Sterling. I mean, yeah, I don't want to sit here and make the show watching me pick players, but I mean, it's quite tricky though, isn't it? I mean, I feel like I've got a bit of work to do here, but I've got overnight to think about it and a bit of tomorrow, so we'll see. We'll see where we get to with that one, I think. Yeah, I mean, thank you for everyone for their comments and everything, and we've been getting some stick from Dread. Because I think Dread's doing quite well, and we're not. We're telling us to remember our green arrows. Telling us we're struggling out here. Look, we're getting trolled online. He criticised me. He says, "Why my guy get his own screen for his team every time? You're all equally bad." I mean, we're getting ripped here, dude. It's a brutal
We should
world
invite
out
Dredd
there.
on one day. He might give us some insightful knowledge, or maybe not.
Well, I could do with some tips from anybody. I don't really. Yeah, not doing so hot these times.
Although I know Dredd brought in Kozovic last season when he was hyped, and then he got injured for 6 weeks. So don't always trust what Dredd does.
Yeah, we should look at Dredd's team. Do we know what his team name is?
I think it's Reds Dreads.
Ooh,
To be fair, it's a decent team. I think I remember coming across it. It's a decent team.
Yeah, Reds Dreads. I mean, presumably it's going
where's
to be
the
near the
search?
top.
Yeah.
Is there a search on here? No.
No, that's a shame, isn't it?
That's so stupid. Come on, Premier League, sort your app out.
Reds Dreads, send in your team.
Where's your
and then we
team,
can
bro?
include it into next week.
Where's your team? It's not even in our league. What are you doing? What? What's your team name, bro? Come on. Speak up. I want to know. You're dishing it out. You're not even in our league. Come on. What's your team name? Let's have a look at this. I know we've been looking at last game week, but whatever. Let's see what you've been doing.
We've got some pretty unique team names in our league, though. If you keep looking, some of them do make me laugh.
There are some good ones. Kings of Leon.
You know what you could do, Matt? I was just thinking what you could do. Sterling to Luis Diaz. I'm hearing that he didn't train today because he's only just come back from international break. But Sterling to Luis Diaz, and you get that Liverpool guy, who I think is still going to be starting every week. And then again, you have some cash to go elsewhere. That's just
upgrade
just
on Gilmore.
on a limb. Yeah.
Ooh,
or
tasty.
then upgrade on
Henson
and Jensen. So yeah, that's what I think you should do.
That's it. That is it. That's the one.
Because whether I think that's what I would do.
Oh, could you get St. Max?
Let's have a look. Sorry, I don't want to dwell on my team forever because it's probably really boring to watch. But
no, let's just see what you can do.
Let's see what we can do. So
Signore, I think you need to tweet St. Max. I think you love him, don't you, mate?
Hey, this guy's a joker, seriously. But he shows a lot of love. He gave away a watch or something to some fans. His Rolex. He just gave his Rolex to some fan.
Okay. Well, there we go. There's Diaz in. That gives me 1.9 million in the bank. And then who are we changing? I've taken out Jensen. And we could do a replacement there. Let's switch it to affordable.
Live tinkering, people. Live tinkering.
Sorry, this won't take long. Where's St. Max? How much is St. Max?
I think he's 6.4. How much you got in the bank?
6.9.
Why?
Oh. Where are you? There you are.
Scott, you've used this word a lot today. It's a bit tasty.
Yeah. It won't be.
Currently injured, but we can sit on that. That's fine. So, that's not too bad. And I've got 500,000 left to sort out someone else. And plus, I haven't even touched James. I want James gone as well. I could probably get a much better option there. That's not bad. I knew I should have asked you guys.
Do you know what you could do with James? Even though the fixtures are coming up tough and I don't know how many clean sheets they're going to have, you could have Van Dijk.
Yeah. Or at 6.7, is it? Robertson? Is it 6.7 now?
Am I going
6.8?
6.7.
Seriously, 6.7. I mean, people are sleeping on it now due to his price drop. Seriously.
He's got a knee injury. I've got 2 bloody injured players on my team now.
Maybe not then. Wishful thinking. FPL Agony's wishful thinking.
Also, I don't have enough. I was slightly short. But there we go.
Maybe drop Saliba because of the game week 11 blank and see if we can get someone else for 4.7. Or the Crystal Palace defender, Mike Gee. Why don't you look at him?
Oh, Okay.
How'd you say his name
This
again,
is
Matt?
Gihi Gwihi. Squeahy. That's all right. I'm still
Is
waiting
he
for the.
going
I'm
to the
still
World
waiting for the
Cup
day
for
you
France?
I'm still waiting for the day you talk about that Spurs player, Cooler Shaker. Okay. Well, I'm gonna
fantastic.
save this team. I like it, and I'm gonna make a couple more
Ooh.
tweaks, and I'll sort all that out. But that's very nice. I like that.
Matt, that was a minus 36. What you doing?
What? Oh dear, can you imagine?
That was
Wow.
sheer panic on his face. That was brilliant.
That's the next TikTok highlight.
No.
Oh,
Well, actually,
Yes.
probably, yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I think that pretty much sums up that. And I thought for a bit of fun, we'd round up the show with some talk about some past fond football or sports related memories. And so my question for the three of us is for us to come up with or tell us a story about a fond sports or and maybe footballing, but a sports memory from your own childhood. What kind of stands out to you as an amusing story? Scott, what stands out to you? What are you thinking?
That's a hard one. I think I've got one just sport PE related, not directly football, but I mean it can happen to anyone. I was in year 9 and I was in a PE lesson and it was pouring down with rain and my school at the time had a bit of a basic gravel pitch, if you wish, to play on. And I remember going outside to play rounders, pouring down the rain. I was thinking, at the time I actually had hair as well, so it was going to get wet. I wasn't happy about it. So I was not very confident going up for a bat, and I was a bit like, "Oh, here we go." And there was obviously 4 bases, as you would know, as a PE teacher and whatnot. And I remember whacking it. I was like, I'll surprise myself here, get carried away here. So I've gone past first base. I'm like, carry on. It's well out in that. I've gone to go to the second base, but there was a massive puddle. I thought I was smart and whack into the puddle. As I've gone to step into the puddle, I have slipped. And as I've slipped, I have smashed my left arm right on the gravel. It's cut my entire skin open near my elbow. I was 14 at the time, and I still to this day on my life still have that scar on my left elbow. It's been covered by some of my tattoos, and I can't really get it on screen, but it is absolutely there. So every time I get inked up, I have to,
That's a
tell the
fond
tattooist to
memory.
kind of, yeah. Well, that's the only one I have because I never had any fun ones. Do you know what I mean? Being last picked on the school team wasn't fun, Mr. Signore. So, yes, I have a scar. Can't really show it. You might be able to see it around there.
Wow.
But yeah. And all I remember doing was going to the medical room and my PE teacher coming in, going, "What, do I have to pay for his cab to the hospital?" Like, yeah. And then luckily, my teacher come out with the cab money, passed it over to my mum who had come to collect me. And I was like, did I just steal money off of my PE teacher? I wasn't too sure, but it was tasty.
Nice.
He doesn't remember it, so that's even better. So if he's watching,
Oh, I love that. That's beautiful. I wasn't expecting to start off on such a gory note, but that's fantastic.
it can
Wow.
only get better.
Wow. Okay, Signore, a memory from you.
School related. Oh man, there's so many from my adult football team that I can remember, but school related because we had some good times. Pick up J3. We had such a laugh together. So, all right, school. I've got one.
Okay.
So, I think I was year 9 or year 10, and was playing. 3 or 4 of my mates played for a rival school, so we're all giving it to each other, going, "Oh yeah, we're gonna beat you, whatever." And I played left back at the time. Now I was a starter back then, and morning of the game, I don't know if the manager wanted to change some stuff or if they saw me joking around with some of the boys from the other school, but I was benched, and I was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe this has happened!" Like my mates are laughing, they give me a little bit of stick whilst they're on the game playing and stuff. So I've come on about 15 minutes to go, and the score's 1-1, and we've had a corner. I got put left wing actually. Corner came out, got cleared. I've hit this so sweet on the volley from about 10 yards outside the box, and it's flew into the top corner, and literally everyone jumped on me, right? And all my mates afterwards was like, "Oh my god, can't believe it! We gave you all that stick," and then you had the final words in your. So yeah, that was a good memory.
Those sweet, beautiful moments when you get your glory. Isn't that lovely?
Oof.
Wow, I love that. That's a nice one to do. My one's a mixture.
Oh yeah, tell us.
We're going to go back to when I was in primary school. I was never very good at football, and it was one of those ones where I was never picked last. You know that brutal thing. See, young people don't. I don't know. I think young people don't know how brutal PE lessons used to be back in the day, emotionally and physically. But you don't know how good you've got it now, kids. But back in the day, you went through the weekly humiliation of there being 2 captains picked, and then they pick the people to come to your team, and the numbers go down, and you're still in that line, and the numbers go down, you're still in that line, and you're thinking, I was always like second to last. So I was bad, but I wasn't bad enough. But anyway, so every Tuesday afternoon I would have sports, and it would be a mixture of different things. We'd always walk to the park, and I was probably about, I don't know, when did this happen? Probably when I was about 8 or 9, I think, like that. So quite young. So we went to the park, and it was the magical week. I was made a captain, and it was like, wow, this is my moment to shine. And so I stood there, and there was this really surreal moment where I'm picking people, and it would have been nice to get that revenge on all the people who didn't pick me over all the times. But I'm not going to lie, I needed a good team, so I just picked them first. I mean, I was now was not the time. Now wasn't the time to get my revenge. So when I picked my team and we were playing, and I usually I get stuck in defence. That's been my entire footballing career as a defender. Ball comes near you, hoof it away, let some other good players do the technical stuff. Anyway, defending, and there's the opposition are taking a corner. So this kid, bear in mind, I'd like to remind everyone I was 9. Anyway, the free kick, the corner kick comes in, and it's high up in the air, and it's coming towards me. And here's my moment to do something about it. Because I'm a massive wimp, I put my hands up over my head. Handball. My PE teacher nicknamed me handball captain for the rest of that match. And I cried. So yeah, that was brutal. I told you. PE lessons back in the day were brutal, folks. And actually, Signore, you know that teacher.
Do I?
You do, and I won't reveal the name on air, but we'll have a discussion afterwards.
Ooh,
both you and Scott know my primary school PE teacher, so that's a bit of exciting. We can have about that chat afterwards. But there we are. There's our footballing stories. I love that. That's a nice little segment. Maybe we should do that again sometime. But yeah, cool. I think we're going to wrap the episode up there. Thank you very much for everyone taking part in the chat. It was like, we had a lot of stick, to be fair, but there's lots of nice comments and lots of interesting input.
It's all good banter, isn't it?
Our crazy
I've
wild
just
card
seen
week.
there's been a few people asking me to say hi, so hi. There you go.
The same person said, we never reply. And I was sitting there thinking, we'll say something good then. There we go. No, but genuinely, thank you very much for everyone taking part and watching the show. It's always absolutely really good. Just a few reminders. Please check out our merch store, bits.ly/FPLA store. So t-shirts and mugs and all that kind of stuff. All overpriced, but it helps fund the channel. Also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and Twitter. We're at FPL Agony on all of those. So please check that out. And now I will hand over to the lads who are definitely not this week going to screw up the outro. Take it away.
So join us next time on FPL Agony, where we will share more stress, anxieties,
and agony that make us love the pain of this game.
If you like this, please like this video and pass to a friend to subscribe.
Excellent. And we'll see you all next
Remember?
week. Go on. You're going to do
Remember, FPL doesn't have to be.
FPL.
We got there. Okay, fine. Right. Way.
And may all of your arrows be green. There we go. Peace out. See you soon. Thanks for watching.